Part 2 of Monday Church with Reverend Montclair. I am Reverend Montclair. I am an interfaith minister, and today I'm speaking on Canada's two commemorative days. One is Orange Shirt Day, an initiative by Indigenous peoples to acknowledge the effects of the forced residential schooling of Native children, and also the day called the National Day for Truth and Reconciliation. I mentioned in my caption why we should care. Number one, not just why we as Americans or United States citizens should care, but why we all should care about Native peoples and the cruelty and injustices that they have endured and suffered, and the consequences from that treatment that they live with today. Why we should care. Number one, we are all part of one human family. There is no such thing as race. It is a fiction. Number two, as soon as we become the people that are arrogant and believe that we're the only ones with the answers and with the intelligence and with the best religion or the best culture, you know that we are wrong, because all peoples from every corner of this world have wisdom, have knowledge, have their basis of living a life of integrity. And it has nothing to do with making slaves of another. It has nothing to do with forcing one's religion on another. It has nothing to do with the abuse of children, the physical, sexual, and emotional abuse of children or anyone else. So, why we should care about Canada's National Day for Truth and Reconciliation is because if we follow abusive behavior, we will find broken children. So, how did the colonists of both of these countries, Canada and the United States, become so cruel and so heartless and so damaging to others? What did they grow up with? I'm not calling here for empathy for the abuser. I'm calling here for awareness of how prevalent child abuse is and how damaging it is and how we need to address it by ensuring that our children of all nations, of all peoples, are cared for and treated with respect. And it is governments of many nations that enact wars on others, where the children, the weakest, the most vulnerable in society, suffer. There are others that suffer. The land suffers. The environment suffers. Our social structures suffer. The wars that are happening right now are causing irreparable suffering that will go on for generations to come. So what do? We can be aware and even empathetic of the wounds that others carry because of the founders of our country, another country, because of the people in power that we may have elected or not, because of this rampant generational trauma that keeps on giving its gift of damage to all others that it touches. So, what do? We have to look at ourselves and find within us those places, as I mentioned earlier, where we need to be more truthful with ourselves and with others, where we need to reconcile our behavior, our actions, our ignorances, where we need to make amends, sometimes with ourselves, for believing a lie about us, sometimes with others, for believing a lie about others. Racism is a word that should be stricken from all languages because there is only one human race. We are all the same peoples of the same human family. And the more we perpetuate that lie that there are these significant differences between us, the more we alienate others, the more we fear those that are different from us, culturally, socially, intellectually, spiritually. Our belief systems, the ones we grew up with, if we still held on to them, are for us alone. They're not to be enforced on others. These schools that were created for so-called assimilation of indigenous peoples into the now dominant culture of the colonizers of Canada and the United States and other places in the world where this happened. The assimilation didn't happen, but abuse did. Severe abuses did. The arrogance of a people to be so cruel and dehumanizing towards another people. We have a very reprehensible history in the United States. Equally, if not more so, Christianity has a reprehensible history of abuse and cruelty on grand scales. So again, we need to look at ourselves. We need to take a cold, hard look at who we are and whether it's behaviors or prejudices or beliefs that we inherited from our family lineage, stories even that we might tell ourselves to pretend we're better than others. We need to examine those within ourselves, within our own lives, and recognize the consequences in our own life experience of bringing those forward. We need to tell the truth about who we are, who we've been. We're not the greatest. We need to know through and through who we truly are. We are one of many of damaged human beings, and the damage must be acknowledged in order to be healed. This is something that has become very apparent in recent decades at how damaged we are. And to continue to ignore that damage is to perpetuate the damage, is to keep on visiting that damage on others. So when do we get out of our head space and sink into our heart space and learn to embrace not only our own wounds, but the wounds of others, to have compassion and empathy? And how? How do we reconcile our ancestors' behaviors, our own behaviors? The dogs are playing. They're making noise. They're friends, despite their differences. despite their upbringings, despite their difference in age and color. How do we do that? When do we do that? When do we choose to befriend the other? When do we choose to befriend those parts of ourselves we've disowned? When do we choose what kind of media we consume that influences our prejudices and our fears? May as well do it today. Take a good long look at yourself. And take a good long look at those that you may admire and ask yourself why. Do you admire them because of their cruelty, their supposed strength? I can tell you, if they're being cruel, they're very weak inside. And they're compensating, overcompensating for it by being supposedly strong on the outside. So what do? We have to learn to nurture ourselves.
Oh, yeah.
And others. That's it for today. I am Reverend Montclair.
Bye.
May you walk in beauty, with beauty before you, with beauty behind you, with beauty above, with beauty below, with beauty all around you.